Hello and welcome to the One Life Church devotional series where we cover the entire Bible in 20 months. Well, today's chapters are Deuteronomy 22 and Romans chapter 7. Now, in Deuteronomy 22, we see the supervision of the law as it pertains to our dealings with animals. So I suppose St. Francis of Assisi would have really appreciated Deuteronomy 22. If you see a bird falling out of a nest, how you handle it. Not to put a donkey and an ox in the same yoke. It's unfair on the donkey. Or maybe it's unfair on the ox, I don't know. If someone loses an animal, how you help find it. And then there's also some laws regarding your dress, the inappropriateness of cross-dressing in the Old Testament, putting railings up on a second floor so that your friends who come to visit don't fall off, and more importantly, I suppose, their children don't fall off. And then a whole sequence of laws regarding adultery, marriage, rape, promiscuity. And as we've said in Deuteronomy, Moses is outlining the laws that the people of Israel to live by to make them different to the people around them. Now, when you get to Romans in chapter 7 picks up this issue of the law. And Paul says in Romans 1, "Do you not know, brothers and sisters, for I am speaking to those who know the law." They know Deuteronomy. They know how they ought to behave. That the law has authority over someone only as long as that person lives. So Paul has gone to great lengths to say the law is pure, the law is holy, the law is right, but it's impossible. It's impossible to live under the law. We just can't do it. And he's saying the law has authority over you as long as you're alive. So let's just say you've committed a crime and the cops find out that you are dead. They close the case, don't they? Because you can't prosecute a dead guy. That's the example he's saying. He's saying, listen, the law, it's a problem because the law is right and holy and good. The thing is, you've got to die. Then the law doesn't hold you anymore. He gives another example. In Verse 2, he says, "By law, a married woman is bound to her husband as long as he is alive. But if her husband dies, she's released from the law that binds her to him." So he goes on this description of what it means to be married to the law. The law is perfect. He says it's like being married to this overbearing husband who is always right. He's 100% perfect, but he's harsh. And you can never live up to his standards. That's what it's like if you try and please God by living to these laws you see in Deuteronomy, these laws you see in the books of Moses. It's like an overbearing husband that you can't squirm out of. The only solution, he's not going to die. He's got like this immortal attribute. He's never going to die. So the only way you're going to get out of that marriage is if you die. And that's what he says. You have died to the law. And now, as a spiritual rebirth, you've been born again. You've been born spiritually. You mustn't try to be married again to this onerous husband, the law. No, be married to Jesus. Because when you come under him, his burden is light. His yoke is easy. There's forgiveness. He enables you to live with freedom and with liberty. You can choose between which husband you're going to live under. If you live under the law, he's continually going to trip you up. There's a verse where he goes back and says, "I remember when I was unsaved, I do not understand what I do," is what he says in verse 15. "For what I want to do, I do not do, but what I hate to do, I wind up doing that." He says, when I was a non-believer, that's how I used to behave. I can remember when my little girls went with me on a daddy date once, and we went to the Spur or the Wimpy, and they had this little slot machine that you put money into to get balls out of. Remember those machines? Anyway, I was watching the TV, and my little girls were playing with their bouncy balls at a table nearby, and one of the balls bounced down and went under a counter, and my daughter, who lost the ball, went and tried to get the other one from her sister because there were only two balls, and her sister wouldn't give it to her, so she bit her, and there was a deathly scream. I had to sort the problem out, took them home. She promised me all the way home she'd never bite her sister again. She was about 6 years old. I left them in the care of Mom and went and when I came home the evening, Sue said to me, "You can't believe what happened. No sooner had you left, but Kimberly bit her sister again." Well, when I was sitting on the bed with her afterwards, she was weeping. And I thought she was weeping because she knew she was going to get disciplined, but she didn't. She said, "Mom, I promised Dad I would never do it. And the thing that I didn't want to do, that's the thing I did." It was the point at which Sue was able to point Romans 7 to her and say to her, "You need help, my girl. You need help, because you see, no matter what laws, whatever promises you make, you're never going to be able to fulfill them. You need Jesus to help you." So this scripture is about non-believers. And the whole point of Paul preaching it to the church is saying, you've been freed from that husband now, those rules now, those laws now. Come under your new husband, which is Jesus. And he will help you fulfill the law. And so as you read this chapter, understand when Paul cries out and says, "What wretched man that I am, who will rescue me from this body subject to death? Thanks be to God who delivers me through Jesus." Who's going to deliver you? Jesus already has. Now, stick with him. Stay with him. He'll help you live in victory.